The arrival of the Harmony Fleet. The Stellar Harmony Coalition's fleet emerged from hyperspace like a constellation being born. 500 ships, each one a masterpiece of engineering and aesthetic beauty, arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns around Earth's orbit. Their hulls shimmered with an opalescent sheen that changed color depending on the angle of sunlight, broadcasting a message of peace through their very appearance. This was not an invasion force. This was supposed to be a celebration. Ambassador Crethan stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Concordance, his forearms folded in the traditional gesture of contemplation among his people, the Selvani. His skin, which could shift between shades of blue and green depending on his emotional state, currently displayed a confident azure. After 300 successful integrations of warlike species into the coalition, Earth would be just another triumph to add to his considerable legacy. The humans had been under observation for 50 of their years. They were a fascinating paradox capable of breathtaking cruelty and astounding compassion, often within the same individual. Their history read like a catalogue of horrors punctuated by moments of transcendent beauty. They had split the atom and used it to both destroy cities and power. They had created art that could move species to tears who didn't even have tear ducts, and weapons that could turn those same species to ash. Ambassador, his second in command, a crystalline being named Vorix, chimed in harmonious tones. The humans have responded to our arrival. They're celebrating. Crethon's skin flickered with surprise, taking on a greenish tinge for a moment before returning to blue. Most species reacted to the coalition's arrival with fear, aggression, or desperate attempts at negotiation. Celebration was unprecedented. The main viewscreen activated, showing scenes from Earth's major cities. Humans had gathered in streets and squares, but these weren't panicked mobs or military formations. They were having what appeared to be parties. Music played, people danced, and banners reading "Welcome to Earth" in dozens of coalition languages fluttered in the wind. The sight was so unexpected that several bridge officers stopped their work to stare. "They seem happy to see us," Vorix observed, his crystalline form pulsing with confused orange light. Before Crethon could respond, a communication request appeared on their systems. The humans were using coalition standard protocols, which should have been impossible. They hadn't been given the communication codes yet. Ambassador Crethan of the Stellar Harmony Coalition, a human voice spoke in perfect Selvani, complete with the subtle tonal variations that most species took years to master. "This is General Marcus Chen of the United Earth Council. On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to our solar system. We've been expecting you." Crethan's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a nervous yellow-green. "General Chen, I am pleased by your welcome, though I admit surprise at your knowledge of our language and protocols." The human's laugh was warm but carried an undertone that made Crethan's scales tingle with unease. "Ambassador, we've been preparing for this day for quite some time. We know why you're here, and we're eager to discuss your proposal. However, we insist that negotiations take place on Earth. We've prepared facilities at our United Nations headquarters in New York. Will you honor us with your presence?" This was another deviation from standard procedure. The coalition always conducted negotiations aboard their ships in environments they controlled. It established dominance from the start and reminded potentially hostile species of the coalition's technological superiority, but refusing would seem cowardly, and the humans had been nothing but welcoming. "We would be honored," Crethan replied, his training overcoming his uncertainty. 3 hours later, Crethan and his delegation of 12 Representatives from different coalition species stood in the UN General Assembly Hall. The building had been modified to accommodate various alien physiologist atmosphere controls for different sections, gravity adjustments, and even a pool for the aquatic Bendathi representative. General Chen stood at the podium, a man in his 60s with silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold both kindness and steel in equal measure. Beside him stood Dr. Amelia Reeves, a woman whose warm smile didn't quite reach her calculating eyes, and several other humans in both military and civilian attire. Before we begin formal discussions, General Chen said, "We'd like to offer you a gift." He gestured to a table where 13 boxes sat, each one tailored to the specific manipulator appendages of each delegation member. These contained something from Earth that we thought might help you understand us better. Crethon opened his box with 2 of his 4 hands. Inside was a chess set, the pieces exquisitely carved from what looked like genuine Earth marble and obsidian. But it wasn't just any chess set. The pieces had been modified to represent various coalition species on one side and Earth animals on the other. Chess, Dr. Reeves explained, is a game of strategy that has existed on Earth for over 1,500 years. It simulates warfare, but it's played in peace. Victory comes not from strength alone, but from thinking several moves ahead, understanding your opponent, and sometimes sacrificing powerful pieces for a greater victory. The Bendathi representative, floating in his mobile water sphere, examined his gifter, similar game but played 3-dimensionally in a liquid medium. Each delegation member had received a strategic game from Earth's different cultures, each one adapted to their specific biology. "You honor us with these gifts," Crethon said, though he was beginning to understand the message behind them. Humanity was telling the coalition that they understood strategy, that they had been thinking ahead, and that this meeting was not what it seemed. "Now then," General Chen said, his tone becoming more serious, "shall we discuss your coalition's offer of peace? We have some questions about your previous successful integrations. Specifically, we'd like to know what happened to the original cultures of the species you've brought into your harmony." The way he said harmony made it sound like a question rather than a statement. Crethon felt his skin beginning to shift toward the darker blues of anxiety. The humans knew more than they should, much more. But first, Dr. Reeves added, with that same not quite reaching smile, "Would you like a tour of our facilities? We've prepared something special for you, a museum of sorts. We call it the Archive of Human Conflict. We thought it might help you understand why your offer, while appreciated, requires very careful consideration." As Crethon followed the humans out of the assembly hall, he couldn't shake the feeling that he and his delegation were not the ones in control of this meeting. The chess set in his hands seemed heavier than its materials should allow, weighted with symbolism he was only beginning to grasp. The humans had been playing a game long before the coalition had arrived, and Crethon was starting to suspect they were already several moves ahead. The celebration continuing in the streets outside took on a different meaning now. They weren't celebrating the coalition's arrival. They were celebrating something else entirely, something that made Crethon's scales shift to the deep purple of profound unease. What exactly had humanity been preparing for? And more importantly, what did they know about the coalition's true nature that they shouldn't possibly know? The Museum of Human Conflict, the Archive of Human Conflict, occupied 3 underground levels beneath the UN building, though Dr. Reeves mentioned casually that this was just one of dozens of similar installations around the world. The entrance was a simple elevator that descended smoothly and silently. But Crethan's instruments detected massive amounts of energy being used for something beyond simple transportation. Defensive screens, General Chen explained, noticing the ambassador's scanning device. The archive is too important to leave unprotected. History forgotten is doomed to be repeated, and we never forget. The elevator opened onto a vast circular chamber. The walls curved up and away into darkness, covered with millions of tiny lights. Each light, Dr. Reeves explained, represented a human life lost to conflict. The light shifted color: white for distant history, yellow for recent centuries, red for the last 100 years, and a disturbing number of new blue lights for conflicts that had ended after humanity achieved spaceflight. 8 billion documented deaths from warfare, Dr. Reeves said quietly. That's just the ones we could verify. The real number is probably twice that. Vorix's crystalline form rang with harmonic distress. So much death. This is exactly why the Coalition's peace is necessary, is it? Dr. Reeves asked, leading them down a corridor lined with holographic displays. Let me show you something interesting. The first display showed ancient human warrior Spartans, Vikings, samurai, Aztec eagles. Brutal, violent, yet each culture had produced art, philosophy, and innovations that persisted thousands of years later. The Spartans were among our most warlike people, Dr. Reeves explained. Yet they produced the concept of democracy that eventually spread across our world. The Vikings, raiders, and pillagers also became the greatest explorers and traders of their age. The samurai, masters of death, created a code of honor so profound that we still study it today. They moved to the next section, showing more recent conflicts. World wars that had consumed millions, yet had sparked technological revolutions. Cold wars that had driven humanity to reach for the stars. Regional conflicts that had forced the development of international law and cooperation. You're glorifying war, Crethan accused, his skin flushing orange with disgust. No, General Chen replied firmly. We're acknowledging truth. Conflict is horrible, war is hell, but it's also been our teacher. Every war we've fought has taught us why we must avoid the next one. Every peace we've broken has shown us why we must build a stronger one. They entered a new chamber, and Crethan stopped so suddenly that the delegation members behind him nearly collided. The room was filled with refugees, beings from species he recognized, species that had supposedly been peacefully integrated into the Coalition over the past centuries, whose people had supposedly embraced Coalition peace willingly 300 years ago, stepped forward. His once proud warrior carapace was dulled with age, but his eyes burned with fierce intelligence. I am Korax 9 Spears, he announced, last free war chief of the Thraxian hegemony. My people didn't choose peace, Ambassador. We were chemically lobotomized. The Coalition's treatment doesn't remove aggression, it removes the ability to choose aggression. It removes the ability to choose anything that might disturb the harmony. More refugees emerged from the shadows. A Zephrani trader whose people's competitive instincts had been neurologically suppressed. A Makari artist whose species' passionate creativity had been deemed too disruptive and chemically dampened. Each one a survivor who had somehow escaped the Coalition's peaceful conversion. Impossible, Crethan stammered, his skin cycling rapidly through colors. The treatments are voluntary. Every species chose, Dr. Reeves interrupted. Show. The Ambassador, the recording from Thraxia, please. A hologram materialized in the center of the room. It showed Coalition ships surrounding the Thraxian homeworld. The image was grainy, clearly taken from a great distance, with primitive equipment. But the audio was clear. Crethan heard his own predecessor's voice, speaking 300 years ago. Accept the treatment willingly, or watch your world be quarantined from all galactic trade and contact. No medicine for your plagues, no food when your crops fail, assistance when your sun begins its unstable phase in 50 years. Choose peace or choose slow extinction, but choose quickly. Crethan's legs nearly gave out. 3 of his 4 hands grasped for support, while the 4th clutched at his chest, where his primary heart was racing. That's not ... we don't ... he began, but the words died as more recordings played. Planet after planet, species after species, all given the same choice that was no choice at all. We started detecting your observation probes 50 years ago, General Chen said. We've been watching you watch us. More importantly, we've been watching what you do to others. We've spent 5 decades preparing for this moment, gathering evidence, building defenses, and most importantly, making contact with those who escaped your harmony. Every refugee who made it to Earth was granted asylum, Dr. Reeves added. We've learned from them, their technology, their history, and their warnings. Did you really think a species that split the atom just to see if we wouldn't notice? Alien probes in our system. The delegation was in disarray. The Bendathi representative had turned a sick green color in his water sphere. Several others were consulting rapidly with their ship, only to find communications blocked. Don't worry, General Chen assured them. You're not prisoners. The blocking is for your protection. You see, your coalition has a protocol for delegation members who learn too much truth. We'd rather not have you suffer accidents before we finish our discussion. Crethan found his voice, though it was weaker than before. What do you want? What we've always wanted, Dr. Reeves replied. Choice, real choice. Not the illusion of choice with extinction as the only alternative. We want to show the galaxy that peace through oppression isn't peace at all, it's just a prettier form of tyranny. They were led to yet another chamber, this one filled with humans working alongside various alien refugees. Together, they were building something devices that Crethan didn't recognize, but that made his scales prickle with instinctive alarm. Neural freedom transmitters, General Chen explained. They can reverse the coalition's treatments. We've already tested them successfully. The refugees here chose to remain free, but we could restore the original personality to any treated individual. That would destroy the peace. Vorix chimed in alarm. Trillions of beings would suddenly regain their aggressive instincts. Their full range of emotions and choices, Dr. Reeves corrected. Yes, some might choose violence, but others might choose art, exploration, competition, or passion. They would choose to be themselves again, not the lobotomized versions the coalition created. Crethan stared at the devices, his mind racing. If humanity could truly reverse the treatments, if they could prove the coalition's methods to the galaxy, everything would collapse. The carefully maintained harmony would shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. We don't want to destroy the coalition, General Chen said, reading the ambassador's expression. We want to transform it. Real peace, chosen freely. Unity through diversity, not conformity. It's harder, yes. Messier, certainly. But it's honest. And if the coalition refuses? Crethan asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Dr. Reeves smiled, and this time it did reach her eyes, though what Crethan saw there was not comforting. Then we'll do what humans have always done when faced with tyrants who demand submission. We'll fight. An ambassador, with all due respect to your coalition's power, You've never faced a species that turned warfare into science, art, and philosophy all at once. As if to emphasize her point, the lights on the walls changed, showing not the deaths from past wars, but something else: connections, alliances, unifications. Each conflict had eventually led to greater cooperation. Enemies became allies. Destroyers became builders. This is humanity's greatest weapon, she said. Not our bombs or our ships, but our ability to learn from every conflict, to grow stronger from every defeat, and to turn yesterday's enemies into tomorrow's friends. We offer the coalition the chance to be tomorrow's friend. The question is, are you brave enough to accept?